there's a difference, like you nailed it. There's a difference between gathering the right information and knowing the answer, and then how do you present it, right? And that's kind of what you're asking. I think that one mistake a lot of companies, I think that it's helpful being part of this kind of program where they encourage you to really get out in front of your customers and your prospective customers and really understand the customers and why they want this thing. If you get to the point that you're like, I know our customers love this thing, I know they want what I built, then the question is, how do you articulate that story for your audience? And what I talked about earlier is every audience is different, and their screening process is different. In the syndicated angel groups, they generally outsource the first couple levels of the screening process. They send it out to an expert in your field, and it makes their way back. And whether that's the executive summary or their deck, that can be different things. I think that a lot of times these pitches, what a lot of people don't realize is when you're pitching an institutional investor, somebody who literally sees probably 5 or 10 companies a day, their attention span isn't that great, and they only have very limited recollection. So you're not pitching your complete story, you're pitching kind of a movie trailer, which is just give me one thing to hang my hat on, which is interesting enough that when you leave at the end of the day, I can't stop thinking about that one thing and I want to learn more. So I would encourage more, especially on these early stage kind of investments, a little more of a teaser kind of approach to your pitch. Some people lose their elevation, and all you really need to capture is, why do I even care about what you're doing? And why do I have any reason to believe that you guys have a shot at being the one that wins that? And what's interesting about that? So in your case, if you're like, I've talked to hundreds of customers and they're head over tails in love with this, you could back into a lot of creative ways to present that. You know, it could be a movie with snippets. It could just be, you know, you're very charismatic and you're like, look, we've talked to hundreds of people and they're crazy about this thing. You know what I mean? There are a lot of different ways that is authentic to your pitch style, but instead of worrying about the completeness of your story, you know, I think if you just got across that, one, you've talked to hundreds of people, and these hundreds of people represent not the most fringe 100 weird, strange people in one niche, but actually is representative of a large enough market. And, you know, I think a lot of people will take a leap of faith that what you're telling them is true, but they will have a high filter on whether they care about the results. So if the answer is, you know, people love this thing, they'll throw money at it, then they're going to like, well, I want to go one click deeper and understand, let's see if what you're saying is true. So I think you could package that up in a lot of different ways, if that makes sense. You could, you know, bring one person along. I mean, I think you can get really creative with it, but you have to be, you know, respectful of people's time.